Who is the key to a film or game's success? Is it the director, the writers, developers, editors, camera crew? Actually, the most important member of any development process is someone who isn't even involved in the process at all. You. That's right, you. The person watching this video right now. I see you there sitting in your chair acting all confused. It's because of you that things end up the way they do. The audience shape what a piece becomes, so if you wish to create something, you must understand some of the theories that explain how audiences receive and interact with media. So, where do you even begin? Well, I'm glad you asked. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk theory. Now, right off the bat, a lot of the elements we are going to talk about will be subjective to the individual, but they will often be a subconscious decision that, at first, you don't even realise. The other thing is audience is constantly changing, adapting and becoming more active with their consumption of media. This is why these are just theories. A game theory! No? Okay. But it's important to note these aren't facts or completely accurate statistics. They are something that helps give a very general idea of the majority. Just because not every 14-year-old boy likes explosions and guns doesn't mean that the theory isn't valid for the most part. On the flip side, some of these theories we will talk about are now considered out of date because audiences have adapted so much that they are no longer useful. So to start with, we will talk about one of the oldest theories on audience, the Hypodermic Needle Theory. Dating back to the 1920s, the Hypodermic Needle Theory was the first attempt to explain how audiences might react to media. It basically implies that people just absorb media passively, with no challenge or thought of their own. It is injected into them. Whatever the media suggests is what the audience believed to be true. Something to bear in mind is that this was the era where media like radio and cinema was a new thing. So people would regularly just believe what the media said, because if they are on TV, they must be reliable. Look at advertisements and propaganda posters from the time. We look at them and say how outdated and ineffective they are. But back then, people must have believed them for them to keep being made. As I said earlier, this theory is widely regarded as outdated due to audiences becoming more active. But that doesn't stop the media from trying to use it when talking about the effects of movies and video games. News reports saying that GTA encourages violence, or that Rambo influenced Michael Robert Ryan to commit the Hungerford massacre. Parents are particularly influenced by the media to believe that the hypodermic needle theory still affects children as they grow up, which statistics have actually proven is not the case at all. And if you say it does, I'll kill you. See? Get it? Because violence and video games and yeah. Secondly is the two-step flow theory. As time went on, the hypodermic needle theory began to prove too clumsy to gain useful and reliable insight into the audience's interaction with media. The two-step flow theory was introduced when three people, Paul Lazarsfield, Bernard Berelson and Hazel Gaudet, analysed voters' decision-making during the 1940 presidential election in America. What came from this was the idea that people didn't take information directly through a media source, but instead from an opinion leader who got it from a source. Two examples here would be the Brexit vote from here in the UK and Donald Trump for you Americans out there. Alright, I know that even speaking his name on the internet is grounds for hate comments, but let me explain. For a long time, the phrase, "they're stealing our jobs," was an opinion held by a small minority, and so was often ignored and even mocked by shows such as South Park. They did their job! They did their job! They did their job! However, when both Brexit and Donald Trump have talked about how immigration has led to a loss of jobs based on their sources, suddenly, a much larger group starts to hear the idea and believe it. This showed that the media actually has a little influence on audiences, but the social factors play a much bigger part. Now we get to the Uses Gratifications Theory, which is one of the most useful and relevant audience theories to date. This theory started in the 1960s when the generation who grew up with television became adults. By 1974, this theory had been streamlined by Bloomer and Katz into the system we know today. This theory looks at how audiences are active rather than passive, choosing what they watch for their own reasons. I mean, look at television nowadays. More people are now watching stuff on sites like Netflix, Amazon, and catch-up TV channels than actual television. Chances are, if you're watching this video, you have actively made the decision to go onto YouTube, search for a topic, and choose between many hundreds of videos that are offered to you. This proves that you are being active in your viewing, rather than just passively watching whatever the TV throws at you. However, each person will do this for different reasons, which the Uses and Gratifications Theory suggests are escapism, indulging media to escape from everyday problems and routine, personal identity, to see yourself in the media, learning behaviour and values, personal relationships, seeing or finding relationship and interaction with media rather than reality, and education, to learn something from a piece of media. Hey, that's what you guys are doing right now. Look at us practicing audience theory without even realising it. Now, people may use media for multiple reasons, however, usually they can be categorised by these 4 topics. This is where gamers get their own little segment. Although people can be active in their selection of media, most are still passive formats. You sit there, you watch a film or show until it's finished. Whereas a video game is an interactive experience. You are making the decisions and changing how things play out. However, once again, the type of interactivity is different between gamers, which a man called Richard Bartle described as the 4 player types. These are achievers, those who want to gain points, levels, equipment, and ultimately see games as something to be beaten. Explorers, those who want to discover new areas, finding hidden Easter eggs or glitches. Socializers, those who play games for the social aspect of interacting with other players. And killers, those who thrive on competition, destructible environments, and general carnage. If you need to remember these groups, they can also be summarized by a deck of cards. Achievers are diamonds as they like valuable things. Explorers are spades because they like to dig around for stuff. Socializers are hearts. And killers are clubs because they like to go clubbing. No, not that kind of clubbing. All of these are important to understand when making a game or movie, as it gives you insight into why people watch and play what they do. That way, you can give a little bit to everyone, or you can make it for a specialised group. And the same goes for the Uses and Gratifications Theory. Now, the final theory for today was brought around in the 80s and 90s, where the Uses and Gratification Theory was about why audiences use media. The reception theory is how audiences interpret media. It starts with the concept that creators will often encode their creations with a message they want their audiences to see. This can be a hidden message, but it also can just be the story. The reception theory shows us that there are 3 ways an audience can decode this message. As an example, let us look at a little known video game character called Mario. Firstly, there is a dominant or preferred reading. This is where the audience sees the creator's message as it was intended. So we see Mario defeating bad guys, saving the princess like any old hero. Secondly, there is the negotiated reading. This is where audiences may agree with some aspects of the creator's vision, but disagree with others. So yes, Mario is saving a princess, but along the way he is kinda destroying the kingdom and killing a lot of creatures, which isn't great, but I suppose it gets the job done. Finally, there is the oppositional reading, which is where the audience completely disagrees with and finds, you guessed it, opposition to the creator's message. So in the case of Mario, he would not be seen as a hero at all, but rather a psychopath who abuses animals, undermines his brother, dates multiple women, and knowingly destroys the residents of the Mushroom Kingdom without hesitation. So what does this mean for you? Well, what it is the storyline of Mario has a lot of open ends in it, or has old lore from the original incarnations that has since been scrapped and never been readdressed, leading these oppositional readings and theories to run rampant. The key is to make your dominant reading truly obvious and believable. That way, audiences are sure to grab hold of it instead of looking for plot holes and ways to oppose it. This is also helped by good storytelling, great cinematography, good editing, sound design. The higher quality and clarity of your film, the fewer people will oppose the intended reading. You can also ensure this by trying to make something that people will use for the multiple purposes that we mentioned earlier from the Uses and Gratifications Theory. But I have gone on long enough, so I will save my discussion for how to use these theories to intentionally target your audience for another video. My piece of advice for this episode: have a look at your film or game idea. What purpose does it serve? Where does it fit into the Uses and Gratifications Theory? Could it serve multiple in order to widen its appeal? Or does it need to be narrowed down to serve just one? Not only that, but is your story clear? Would your audience see what you want them to see, or are they likely to question it? Maybe try and show it to a family member or friend. and get their opinion as an outsider. Trust me, it will help improve your story a lot. If you thought this was helpful, give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to talking theory with you again very soon. Ta-ta for now!